tutorial is going to build on the skills that you've practiced in the last two tutorials. You're going to be adding mixed numbers with unlike denominators. You're still going to have to find a common denominator, make equivalent fractions, add them, but now you're also have a whole number that you're then going to be adding. So let's take a look at this, what you're going to do, the steps that you're going to use for adding mixed numbers with unlike denominators. You are still going to find the common denominator. For 5 and 3, that common denominator is 15. You're still going to find the new numerator, and you're going to find that by thinking 3 times what number is 15? That would be 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times what number is 15? That would be 3. 1 times 3 is 3. You now have equivalent fractions. You can now add your numerators, which is 3 plus 5 is 8, and you have 8/15, and then you add the whole numbers. 4 plus 3 is 7. There may be times when you're going to add your new numerators and then you end up with an improper fraction. If that's the case, you have to change your improper fraction back to a mixed number and then add that mixed number back to the whole numbers that you added in your example. So let's take a look and see what I mean. Let's say your sum, when you added two fractions together, was 5 and 17/15. Well, 17/15 is an improper fraction. When you change 17/15 back to a mixed number, 17/15 can also be written as 1 and 2/15. This now is a proper fraction, but you have a whole number. You're going to add that 1 back into the 5 that you had in your original sum. And 5 and 17/15 can also be written as 6 and 2/15. So there are going to be times when you're going to have to change that improper fraction back to a mixed number and then add that back into your whole number sum. So now let's get rid of that. And let's go to some examples. Okay, so I'm looking at 9 and 4/7 and 6 and 3/4. Well, the first thing I have to find is a common denominator. Well, the common denominator for 4 and 7 is going to be 28. So 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. That means 4 times 4 is 16. When I add 16 and 21, I actually get 37/28. Add 6 and 9, and I get 15. Well, I'm looking at this right here. 37/28 is an improper fraction. 37/28 could actually be written as 1 and 9/28. When I add that 1 and 9/28 back into the 15, my final sum is 16 and 9/28. So now I'm looking at 8 and 3/8 and 5 and 2/3. And the common denominator for 8 and 3 is 24. Well, 3 times 8 is 24. That means 2 times 8 is 16. I now have an equivalent fraction. 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is 9. Again, I have an equivalent fraction. I can add 9 and 16, and I'm going to get 25/24. Add 8 and 5, and I get 13. This, again, is an improper fraction. 25/24 can also be written as 1 and 1/24. And then I'm going to add that 1 and 1/24 back to the 13, and my final sum is 14 and 1/24. So now I'm looking at 6 and 9 for my denominators, and I know that my common denominator is going to be 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 times 3 is 3. 9 times 2 is 18. 5 times 2 is 10. When I add 10 and 3 together, I get 13/18. This is not an improper fraction. So my answer is 22 and 13/18. Now, with this next example, I'm looking at my denominators of 3 and 6, and I know that my common denominator is going to be 6. My new numerator is going to be 2/6, and my new numerator here is going to be 5/6. Again, notice this one did not change. My denominator did not change, my numerator does not change. 5 plus 2 is 7, that's going to give me 7/6. 20 plus 15 is 35, but 7/6 is an improper fraction. That can be written as 1 and 1/6, and my final sum is 36 and 1/6. Nice. Now let's try a few more. I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to try these 4, and then when you come back, we're going to check and see how you did. Okay? See you soon. Okay, so let's check and see. The common denominator for 12 and 36 is going to be 36, which means I would not expect to see this numerator change, since my denominator did not change. However, this one will change. 12 times 3 is 36, 5 times 3 is 15. This is going to give me a sum of 16/36, which is not an improper fraction. 15 plus 20 is 35. However, 16/36 could be reduced to 4/9. If you saw that and went, yes, I can reduce it, great. If you did not realize that that could be reduced, but you got 35 and 16/36, good job. Let's take a look at the next one. The common denominator for 9 and 5, I know you got 45 for that, good job. And my new numerators are now going to be 27/45 and 20/45. When I add those together, I'm going to get 47/45. 32 plus 10 is 42, but I'm looking at an improper fraction again. 47/45 actually is 1 and 2/45. Add that back to 42, and you get a sum of 43 and 2/45. Good job. So now I'm looking at 8 and 16. I know that my common denominator is going to be 16. And since my denominator did not change here, my numerator also did not change. However, my numerator is going to change here to make an equivalent fraction for 3/8, which is 6/16. When I add these together, I get 16 and 11/16. And since this is not an improper fraction, that is my final sum. Nice. I'm looking at 7 and 2, and again, that's going to be 14 for a common denominator. And my new numerator is going to be 7 and 10. When I add that together, I'm going to get 17/14. Add 6 and 5, and I get 11, but again, I've got an improper fraction. 17/14 can be rewritten as 1 and 3/14. Add that 1 back into the 11, and you get a final answer or a final sum of 12 and 3/14. Nice job. Now that you've completed this tutorial, go back, take the